Hi, I'm Denise Boudreau-Scott, president of Drive, and in our quest to spread love, not germs, I have with me today the beautiful Amy Ridgway, who is a trauma and ICU nurse and a friend of mine that I met in Fiji a few weeks ago. She's also a hypnotherapist, and I've asked her, and she so graciously agreed to share with us some work to help us get a bit grounded and reduce stress for all of you that are working in senior living. So Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you. And I just want to say, she's going to walk us through this, but also at the end, she's got an unbelievable story, like unreal, which I didn't know until today when I spoke to her. So stay on afterwards if you want to hear this story that's now being made into a movie by Netflix because you'll find it super interesting. So Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, Denise, and thank you so much for doing this. This is wonderful. So if I could share just a couple of very simple things that I do. One of my favorites is called anchoring. And the first thing that I do with anchoring is really think about what I particularly need. If I need to ground myself, or if I need to remind myself that I'm safe, and especially in this climate and these scary times, I think that it's a good technique to find your safe space and then ground that so that you can access it at any time that you might be feeling nervous or scared, or you've watched something on social media that concerns you, or if you're worried about your family. This in particular, one of my favorite stories about this, how this worked, was a CEO that I had been working with that needed hypnotherapy for stage fright, because he had a lot of times that he had to talk to people in a boardroom, and he was finding himself tongue-tied. And he found his safe space underneath a table from when he was a child, and his mother would fold laundry in front of him, and he could smell the clean laundry. And I found a way to anchor that in him so that he could just find a space on his body that he could activate when he was feeling that stage fright, and he could smell the clean laundry, and it just calmed him. And so this can work for anyone. What's that?
He didn't have to crawl under a table to do it.
He didn't have to crawl under a table, and he could do it. It's very, very discreet, and he could do it anywhere while he was standing in front of people giving. So I'll kind of walk you through that one. That tends to be my go-to, and it's something very simple. And anchoring is a part of neuro-linguistic programming. You may have heard of it on the internet, but it's something that it's extremely effective, and I use it during traumas so that I can keep my head straight when I'm leading my code team.
So you're used to using this even in
yes.
Yeah. So let's do it. Anchoring.
Okay. All right. So first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just, Denise, I'm going to work with you specifically, but anyone that is out there that is listening, I just want you to first get yourself in a comfortable position. If you want to lean back in the chair, but always put your feet flat on the floor or underneath you. If you're in a yoga position, that's fine.
Okay,
I
like to sit like that.
Yes. So whatever position is good for you.
Okay.
And then put your hands on your knees. And then just, if it's comfortable for you and you're in a space that you can do this, just softly close your eyes. And I want you to just take 3 deep breaths, all of them into your belly. Nobody's watching. Just let your belly flow, and take 3 deep breaths in and out of your nose. And then just start breathing nice and slow. Good job. Good job. And now I want you to remember, and it's really easy to remember, because when you're relaxed, you can go to that space that feels so comforting for you. You can go to a space, and it may have been last week. It may have been last year. It may have been when you were a child. I want you to remember a time when you felt peaceful, It could have been when you were walking your dogs. It could have been when you were on the beach. It could have been when you were holding your baby's hand. Anything that makes you feel peaceful. And I want you to notice where you feel this in your body. There's always a sensation. Mine is in my chest. It just feels so big and beautiful. It helps me to relax my shoulders. I notice my neck relaxing. I notice my jaw relaxing when I think of this space. And when you have that space, I want you to take your thumb and your ring finger on your left hand. And I want you to anchor it there. Push really, really hard. And I want you to remember and make that peaceful space so big, big, so big that it comes out of your chest, out of your belly, out of the top of your head. And I want you to remember this space, whether there is a smell that's attached to it, if there's a memory of sunshine, or maybe there's a sound, maybe it was music, maybe it was a time you were meditating. And when you've got that, make it big, 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 and push really hard on that place on your ring finger. Good job, good job. And now release it. Take another deep breath. That's great. And just open your eyes. Good.
You know what came
That's
um,
great.
when my dad used to be a firefighter in New York City, so he'd work crazy hours and he'd come home sometimes and lay on the couch. And my dad's 6'4". And so I would, when he would lay on the couch sideways, his long legs, you know, there'd be a space there and, you know, on the side. And so I'd go right there and then I'd be there in that big space.
That is
You
the
know,
best
cuddle
safe
his legs.
space.
And I'm also having visions of the plastic that was covering the couch because it was the 70s, but you know, but that was my safe space. I love that. And I felt it like when you said that, I felt that. Like I felt that when I used to curl up feeling. Oh, you got me crying.
But that tactical feeling of remembering the coolness of the plastic,
Yeah.
and remembering the sound of the plastic,
Yeah.
and all of those things, the more tactile it is, the better.
Yeah.
So now we're going to test this. So kind of shake it off for a minute, and
I feel like was it Swift? Shake it off.
Yep, exactly. Shake it off. And now just notice, just taking a deep breath, and you are going to fire off that anchor. And go ahead and just push on that finger and lightly, and notice that feeling that's going through your body again.
Oh, that's weird. I feel this again.
Can you feel it?
Yes.
Isn't that neat?
Wow.
So you can literally use that now to program that anchor over and over again for the next few days. Do that same exercise. So remember your safe space, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, remember the safe space, and remember that anchor, and do it again. So you can just do it a few times during the day, remembering it throughout the next week. And then after that, it's anchored essentially forever. You can always fire off that anchor, and your body is going to remember that anchor. And sometimes you're just going to say, oh my gosh, I forgot I had that little button, that little calm button that is already built in. I can do it anywhere.
So I'm going to do this same kind of thing again and it only took probably a minute. I'm going to do that again, maybe once a day or so for the next few days, 3 days, 4 days or so. And then when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling anxious, whether it's everything going on in the world right now or afterwards that we could still use this, I have the ability to do that and tap into that feeling.
That's right.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Amy, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
I know that you've helped so many people that are working in senior living and long-term care. Now I'm going to go all Ellen on you and ask you, you have to tell me, like I can't, Amy said, I don't know if you know my story before we started our recording this. And I said, no, I don't. And she just, I don't even know where to begin except for, she said to me, there was a book written about me. Tell me about that.
So, Charles Graeber wrote a book called The Good Nurse, and it was it came out as a New York Times bestseller in 2003. Sorry, 2013. And it's about Charles Cullen, who is America's most prolific serial killer. He murdered what we think about 400 people.
400.
And
Oh my gosh.
and in that book, it is revealed that I worked undercover with the New Jersey prosecution to get him to confess. And he was put behind bars in 2003. And
Have you
yeah.
seen him?
So I did see him after I worked on 60 Minutes, and there's a 60 Minutes episode. And during that episode, I did go and see him multiple times. And he agreed to do the 60 Minutes episode. And it is very, the 60 Minutes episode doesn't really get it right. That's the only thing that I can say, is that they really talk about Charlie Cullen as being a very, I don't know, a very challenged human. And as much as it sounds like, geez, he was a serial killer and people saw him as being extremely mentally ill. But the fact was, I think that there were two of him, and I didn't know the murderer. I knew my friend Charlie, who was a great dad and who was a wonderful nurse and who cared deeply about me. And so after, sorry?
How long were you friends?
So we were friends in the hospital, and he was what we call our work husbands and our work wives.
Yes.
So he was my work husband, and we were very close. We told each other everything, and he was fired, and I had no idea why. And so as it goes through the book, and the book is very good, Charles Graeber does get it right, and he gets Charlie right, because he allows for him to be human. He's not just the monster, but the real monster in all of this was the bureaucrats, the 5 hospitals that moved him on to other hospitals to let him kill again. But we stopped that, and the good things that did come of that, that there were many human resources policies that came out after that a nurse cannot be brought and sent on to the next hospital with a neutral record.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah. If you tell me too that I was just so fascinated about the journey then that this took you on personally. I mean, I can't even begin to wrap my head around what that would be like to have somebody that, you know, you consider that close of a friend and not know this entire other evil side of them, and yet still be able to see the good side of them. So, and I just, yeah, share with me some of that personal journey.
I think for me, there was a lot of guilt, guilt because he was murdering people. I didn't know, and there is going to be a movie coming out, and that movie is going to be a Hollywood movie, and that movie is based on a true story, but the script makes it look like I did know, like I was aware of his antics in the hospital, and I wasn't. I only knew him. I only knew my friend Charlie.
Right.
And after I found out that he had murdered so many people, I had to go on this journey for myself to help me understand why I couldn't see his darkness, why I wasn't even aware that he could be doing these heinous acts essentially sometimes right in front of me, and only see his light. So it brought me on these journeys to these gurus, and they taught me so many things about myself, not only how to meditate, but also I ended up having an awakening type experience in a labyrinth where I was able to feel energy of plants and animals and understand that that was what my journey was. The only reason that Charles Cullen is behind bars right now is because I could only see love.
Mhm.
And that was a beautiful, wonderful journey that I was able to go on, and started with guilt and started with something so horrific and ended with me understanding that I have a gift, and that is the gift of only seeing love and only seeing light. And Charles Cullen has stopped murdering because of that love that I had for him.
Yeah. God bless you for everything that you've done, Amy, and thank you. I mean, like I said, I'm blown away from without your story, just you as a human, even taking the time to do this for people that you don't know,
Of course.
and I so appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to do another one of these again. And
Yes,
I just wish you the best and stay healthy and spread love, not germs.
absolutely. Be
Thank
the light.
you.